Hi, this is Patrick with Can2 Group Real Estate. I'm creating this video to show you how to create a looping campaign within Infusionsoft. First thing you're going to do when you're creating a new campaign is obviously log into Infusionsoft. Hover your mouse over this little icon here, and then click Campaign Builder. Okay. It'll take you to this page. This is where all of our campaigns we've ever made live. What I'm going to do is click Create My Own Campaign. And then you name your campaign. I'm just going to do a kind of a test campaign here. So I'm just going to go Instructional Loop Campaign. You hit save. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is there's a bank over here on the left side with some different options. So 90% of the campaigns we use here are tag driven, which means when you go to the contacts profile in Infusionsoft, you go to the tags tab, and then you select one of the drop down menus that are there, and you apply a tag to that contact. Now applying that tag will launch a sequence. So in order to add a sequence to your Infusionsoft campaign, all you do is you grab sequence and you drag and drop it over into this section here. Now, in order for a campaign to loop properly, we're not only going to have to apply a tag, we're going to have to remove a tag and then apply another tag. So it's going to look kind of like this. It's going to look like this. So I'm going to apply a tag here. Once we get into the sequence, I'll show you this in a second, but I'll remove the tag that I just applied. It'll launch a sequence of tasks. Let's just say we're going to do, weekly follow-up calls for a while. Once we get to the end of the set of weekly follow-up calls, a new tag is applied, which is what this is, and then it will launch the looping sequence. So it'll launch this loop tag. Now, that loop tag will launch this second sequence. This is what we're going to call the loop sequence, and it's identical to this one, and it will run through this until it gets to the end, and then another tag will be applied that will essentially launch it back over here. So a looping sequence is going to look like this on the surface of it. I'm going to name this a test sequence. And I'm going to name this test sequence loop. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is create a tag. So I'm going to call this test sequence A, whatever. Hit create. Pick a category. I'm just going to put this in I'll put this in you're going to probably, if you're creating a call follow-up sequence, you're probably going to want to put it in the Griffin Realty Group drop-down menu. All other sequences that we'll create, like for mailing campaigns or, anything other than call follow-up stuff, goes in the no category drop-down menu. I'll put this in no category for now. And you hit apply a category, and you hit save. Okay. Another little thing about creating these campaigns is when the thing looks green, that means that it's ready and it's working. So all the stuff that's in gray is not turned on and it's not working. All right, so we have a tag applied. Test. I wrote text instead. Okay. Test sequence A is applied. Now we need to tell Infusionsoft what to do once that tag is applied. The first thing we do is under process, we're going to drag another tag thing up here. And it says apply/remove tag. What we need to do is remove the tag we just applied. And then we are going to start doing whatever call sequence we want to do. Or this could be calls, this could be mailings, this could be anything. So we'll get into it, but I want to do this one weekly, so I'm going to go to timers and select a delay timer. And I'm going to go weeks, and you can choose how many weeks or days or months. But for purposes here, we're just going to do 1 week. And then you go under process, you go create task. So I'm going to go, test call 1. Now you have to click into the task and set up the task. So I'm going to make this a call. You name it. And then you want to click assign to contact's owner unless you want it to always go to the same person. So if I go assign to contact's owner, whoever is the owner of the contact, the task will pop up for that person. If I say want it to go to Paul every single time, no matter who owns it,
okay, Paul,
I would click Paul Cantu as assigned to backup. That means all these would go to Paul. And then you have to go under do at. I always just put 8:30 a.m. Priority, depends on what kind of campaign you're doing. We're just going to say critical. You can set it up to send the owner a notification in their email when it comes up. You can also set it up so that the owner gets a pop-up reminder every time the task comes up. All right, see you later, Paul. Be careful because if you do this pop-up reminder, you could really overwhelm somebody with a bunch of pop-ups every time they open Infusionsoft if they're getting behind. So we rarely use this unless it's like incredibly important. You can put any instructions you want in the body. So keep in mind, if you want to say something to whoever's receiving this task, just bye Mercedes. You can, add any instructions you feel appropriate in the body. When you want the task to be ready, when you're done with all this stuff, you hit this little draft button over here, and it will turn green, say ready. Then you click over here to go back to the sequence. Okay? Now we're going to basically just repeat that process again. I'm going to throw in another delay timer, double click on it. I want to go weekly, hit save, and then drag this one over. And you're going to go, test call 2. Okay, and then you double click and do the same thing over and again. Draft, ready. Okay. So 9 times out of 10, your sequence is going to be a hell of a lot longer than this, but just so that we can get this video wrapped up relatively quickly, I'm going to skip to the end of the sequence right here. So I'm going to grab another tag, and I'm going to move it right here. Now before I can create this tag, I've got to actually go back into our instructional loop campaign by clicking over here to take me back to the outside of it. We have to create another tag, and this is going to be the tag that's going to allow us to loop the campaign. So I'm going to click on my loop sequence, which is this bottom one, and I'm going to create a tag. I'm going to go test sequence loop. I'm going to hit create, and when I'm doing loop sequences, I never put them in the no category drop-down menu or the Griffin Realty Group drop-down menu because you're never using a loop tag to initiate a sequence. It's just something that happens automatically. So I kind of hide them in the nurture tags section so that they don't kind of like muddy up our other tag sections. So I'm going to go nurture tags for this looping one, and I would suggest you always do that. Apply category, hit save. Okay, so we've just created another tag, and this is a looping tag. So I'm going to go back into the initial sequence here. And I'm going to click where it says apply remove tag. Now what I want to do is I want to choose apply and find the tag I just created, test sequence loop, and hit save. Okay, so we've removed the initial tag. My accidental text sequence A has been removed, and now we are applying test sequence loop. Okay, now that we're done with this first sequence, there's another draft thing up here. So click draft. Now that we're ready, it shows that it's ready. You click back over here to go back to the main screen. Okay, so now you'll notice that the sequence is ready to roll. I need to change. All right. Okay, so now in order for this tag that we just added in here, in order for it to launch the following sequence, there's a few things we got to do. So under tag applied, what we want to do is first add in test sequence loop, which is the one that we just applied in the sequence. So basically what it's saying is once that tag has been applied, it will jump over to this loop sequence here, which is where the loop is applied. Now, there's a couple other things you may want to do. If you're doing a call sequence, in order for other call sequences to override this one, like let's just say this is like a specific call sequence, but then we want to change them into a client or a prospect, you want to type in prospect, for example, and you want to make it so that any of these tags will override the initial tag. And what you do that by just clicking on all these other tasks. You also always want to throw delete in here so that when somebody applies the delete contact tag, it'll end the sequence. Clear follow-up calls is one that you want to do so that, you know, if somebody doesn't want to call this person anymore, they just use the clear follow-up calls tag and it will just kill the sequence, which is essentially what we're doing here. Client is one that you want to do in case, you know, we meet with this person and we want to tag him as a client. Pending client is one. Past client is one. Z closed, the two Z closed deal campaigns you want to put on there too. So in case we sell them a house, we certainly don't want this call task to continue showing up forever. So you add all the tags that you want to end the sequence here, and you hit save. Okay, so now that whole section there is done. We're completely done with this section. Now we jump into the loop sequence. So you click loop sequence. This part's pretty easy. All you do is go up here to actions. You click copy from campaign. This allows us to skip throwing in all the delay timers and all the tasks and stuff. You can copy from an existing sequence. And this will be in alphabetical order, so I want to copy was it instructional? Yeah, instructional loop campaign. That's what we initially called this thing. Okay, so I want to copy from this campaign, and then it'll ask me which sequence do I want to copy. I'm going to go text sequence, and it will automatically fill that in. So for the tag that we're removing, though, this is where it's a little bit different. We don't want to remove the text sequence A. What we want to do is remove instead the test sequence loop. So again, where it's the idea of removing a tag that we just applied, and then you just go through and you click on these things and you hit save, and that part's pretty easy. Or if it's a task, you just hit draft over here, and then click back over here to go back. Save. Draft. Ready. Back over here. And now we're going to apply, instead of the loop tag, because we already just finished the loop tag, we are going to apply the original tag. Alright, I said text. Yeah, we're going to apply that text sequence A. Okay, so the loop tag was launched, which started this sequence, and now the sequence is finished and it's going to launch the initial tag, and it's able to do that because we removed it at the beginning. If a tag is already there, and the same tag can't be applied again, and that's why we're removing it at the beginning of every sequence. Oh wait, I gotta go back in here. I forgot to hit draft. So to make the sequence ready. Okay, sequence is ready. Now we've got to go over to this final section, and we want to make sure that text sequence A would end this sequence and start the new one, or start the original one. And you also, again, need to add all the prospect, call follow-up stuff, or depending on the specific scenario or whatever you're trying to do, anything that you want to override this sequence automatically, like your delete contact, clear follow-up calls, close deal campaigns, client follow-up, pending client. Okay, hit save. And then you want to hit publish when you're all done, because we are all done. This is a finished looping campaign. If I were to apply the text sequence A tag now, I would get a weekly task that says test call 1, and then a week later test call 2. And that would go on forever and ever and ever until one of these tags were applied to stop it from continuing. So I hit publish. Hit publish again. Okay, now we're done. So I can go back and just check and see how that all worked out. I'll go to just any random person in Infusionsoft. I'm going to go to tags. Under the apply a tag section, I'm going to click over here. It's in alphabetical order, so I'm going to scroll down. There it is, text sequence A. I'm going to apply this tag. Hit save. And now if I go into campaigns, I should see some new stuff happening in here. So there it is. So there's my test call 1, test call 2, and it's going to apply this loop. So after the loop, if you're looking at this in campaigns, you're not going to see the loop tasks come up. You will, however, see them after October 30th in this case, when the new tasks start arriving. But we do not want that to happen, so instead I'm going to remove this sequence, and we're back to normal. So that's how you create a loop sequence. If you have questions, let me know. Good luck.